Hello, my name is Stevie MilesGonzales. My students call me Mrs. MG, but for the purpose of today's professional development, Stevie is fine. I'm going to be telling you about a kinesthetic group learning activity known as the Carousel or Carousel Activity. So let's dive right into this and learn all about how you can use Carousel in your classroom. So, Carousel is an aptly named activity where you're going to get students up out of their seats and rotating around the room, very much like an actual carousel rotates. The objective for this professional development is that you will be able to teach and facilitate the carousel activity in your own classroom. So let's start off by talking about the benefits. Why would you use Carousel in your own classroom with your own students? First of all, it gets them up out of their seats, right? And we know that sometimes the best way to get our students' brains moving is to get their bodies moving. It engages kinesthetic learners. So kinesthetic specifically means the sensory awareness of our muscles and our bodies moving. So by having them physically go from station to station for different topics or concepts, you're getting those kinesthetic learners engaged so that they're going to better process the information that you're giving them. It activates background knowledge. So this is an activity that's going to get your students thinking about what existing knowledge they have that they bring to the table, right? They're digging into their prior knowledge. And because they're doing that, we know that they're creating more buy-in in this activity or this lesson because they're feeling more connected to it. It stimulates group and full class discussion. So you're getting everyone talking in a way that you might not get them talking in a lecture style if you were just having butts in seats and calling on people to generate those same types of ideas. It allows students to build upon one another's ideas. So you're going to get bolder and better ideas because they're able to look at what previous students said and build upon it when they get to the next station. And it affords a variety of opportunities for extension, which is so important when we're teaching procedures for an activity to our students. We want to know that this activity can evolve with our students as they progress throughout the year. So this isn't something that we're going to table when we're done with it. We're going to reuse Carousel. So teaching these procedures is really valuable. How do we prepare? So what are you going to do in your classroom before your students get to your classroom? You're going to determine how many groups you're going to have and use that number to inform how many stations you have around the room. You want them to be in sync. You want every group to have a station when you start. So say you have 24 students in your class, you know that you need your groups to be 3 to 4 students. That means you're going to have about 6 groups. If you're going to have 6 groups, then you need to have 6 stations around the room or 6 posters around the room so that each group starts off with their own poster. You're going to place the appropriate number of posters around the classroom and label them. It's important to have this done before your students arrive, or at least ready to go, and maybe have a helper get up and do it and make sure they know where they go. So maybe have designated spots around the room because this facilitates things going quickly and smoothly so that your students don't lose their focus before the activity begins. If you have not assigned groups already, you're going to decide which students work together and keep the groups between, like I said, 3 to 4 members for the best activity results. So if you know there's students that work very well together and you know that there are students who should be kept separate so that they can maintain their focus better, you're going to have those groups pre-designated before this activity takes place. Lastly, you want to set up a timing system for rotating stations. So you want to know, are you going to have a timer projected on the board? Are you going to have a stopwatch or a device that tells you the time and then you'll blow a whistle when it's time? Are you going to play music and then have it stop? Are you going to turn lights out when that timer goes off? Be prepared and have all of that very clearly outlined for yourself so that this activity goes smoothly for your students. Make sure you have prepared before your students arrive. So that's how we prepare for Carousel. How do we set students up for success? So this is a little different than preparing. This is once the students are in the room, once setup is complete and you've got your students seated in the correct groups, what are you going to teach them procedure-wise so that they can execute this activity confidently and smoothly? First, you're going to tell them you will rotate from one station to the next in chronological order or in clockwise order or to your right, whatever works best to tell your students so they understand where they're going when that timer goes off, okay? I find it's easiest to label those posters with numbers. So everyone who starts at poster number 1 knows that they're moving to poster number 2 and they can confirm, yes, I'm at the right poster when they move. If a group starts at poster number 4, because someone will, they know their next poster is poster number 5 and can confirm. You're going to tell them, I will give each group a marker and the member with the most pets will write. Make it something specific, assign a writer, have that decided because they only have a set amount of time at each station. So you don't want them discussing and arguing over who has the best handwriting when they get to that poster. That's not an efficient use of their time. You have 2 minutes at each station. So explain the timer, explain how long they have, and set very clear expectations for what they're going to do with that time. So if they can see the timer, tell them where it is. If they're listening for a whistle, tell them that's what's happening. And tell them you're going to generate as many ideas as possible. Or if you want sentences, tell them you're going to complete as many sentences as you can. If there's a minimum, like you don't want them to move to the next until they have at least 2 sentences, tell them that so that they know what criteria they're set up to meet. When the timer goes off, stop. So you want to let them know, what are they doing? Are they freezing when the lights go out, right? Are they putting down the marker when the music stops? Make it very specific and clear so that they can fulfill that for you. Do they rotate as soon as they stop? Or do you not want them to move to that next station so they don't bump into the group until you say rotate? That's an oral cue. Let them know what they're listening for before they move on to that next station. And then when do they begin again? Do the lights go back on? Do they wait until the timer starts? Is there some sort of music playing in the background? Make it very clear so that they understand what they're listening for, looking for, and just what to expect. And then when the timer starts again, you may begin writing. So these are the instructions that you're going to give them. Practice this in small intervals 2 or 3 times. So you're not going to have the full time frame, right? You're going to have them get up and go to the stations, and then you're going to drill it a couple times so that they're experts at this, right? Practice makes professional. So, have them up there, start the music, blow the whistle, move to your right, blow the whistle, stop. This time move to your left, right? So they're going between the stations and they're familiarizing themselves with that procedure. What does it look like? These are some pictures of posters that I've done in my class before. You see that I've used sticky notes. I'll talk a little more about that in the extension section. You can have them write directly on the poster. These are kind of single word ideas. You can also definitely do it in full, complete sentences. You can also have them do drawings and visuals. You can also have sentence frames already up there that have blanks. So we'll talk about that in the different sections, but this is kind of what each station will look like when you're done. Ideas for differentiation. So in this section, I want to discuss how you can support the different types of learners in your classroom and fill their specific needs. So you might have English language learners. You might have students on IEPs that work best with different opportunities. So make sure that you're giving the students every advantage to succeed in this activity. That's how you're going to create students who like this activity. Provide an example in the desired format at each poster station. Show them exactly what you want and have it on there so that they can kind of reference that. Does your response look like my response? Provide sentence frames for each poster station. You can do this on a separate piece of paper, or you can actually have the sentence frames up there, like maybe 10 or 12. And so they're going to plug in phrases or words to the physical sentence frames as they move through. provide a word bank. You can do this again for each separate poster, or you can have it projected maybe with your timer so that it can be seen from every station. Encourage or allow drawings or symbols to enhance ideas. So if you have students who are better visual learners, then you might want to give them their own marker, and they can support the group by drawing things while the writer puts up the ideas in complete sentences. Have students create their own word bank. So the first couple rotations, you can tell them just put a word up, right? Maybe divide the poster in half. So there's a line. Above the line, generate a single word that the prompt makes you think of. Then after you've done that a few times, different stations, tell the students to write below the line sentences using the words that the previous groups had put up there. This way, students are involved in creating the word bank, and they're also involved in processing that into a more formal structure. And you can do more. There's so many different ways to differentiate this. So think about your specific classroom metrics and diversity, and try to fulfill what students need based on what's worked for you in the past and what works for those students. Ideas for extension. So this is ways that you can move the carousel forward. You could do it the same day. You can extend if they're getting bored with the way you're doing it right there in the moment. Or you could extend, next time we do carousel, we're going to elevate it and do it slightly different. So instead of a marker, you can stock each station with sticky notes. We saw this in my example. And then after a rotation is complete, or they've cycled through a few stations, then you're going to have them reorganize the sticky notes. So you can see this one says religion, creativity, tradition. These were different aspects of culture. But you might find when they go to reorganize that there's some ideas that were put under tradition that better fit in religion, or you might find things under creativity that better fit under tradition. So they can actually hone in on those ideas and move them from concept to concept and category to category to make the most perfect posters. If your posters have ideas or quotes in a raw form, you can up-level the rotation by having them write the previous ideas they see in more complete sentences, or even an embedded citation. So say they're circulating with a novel and they're generating quotes that support a particular claim or answer a particular question. You can then say, okay, now look at the quotes the previous groups have put up there, and can you embed them in a citation? Can you use MLA format for me and put those quotes in the way you would put them in your short response? This is a great pre-write strategy. If they're already writing in complete sentences, up-level by editing the sentence, writing the sentence a different way, or focus on academic language. Give them a word bank with academic language and say, rewrite these sentences now and make sure that you use at least one of the words from the academic language word bank. And there's more. So come up with all the different ways for extension yourself that work for you in your classroom. What do your students need to flex? What do your students need to practice? And that's the best way to develop extensions that are specific to your classroom. That is carousel activity. At this time, if we were together in person, I would put you all into groups that are approximately 3 to 4 people. I would have you rotate through my already set up stations around the room. I would instruct you on how the timing system works. I think that trying it out that way really helps you identify problematic areas that need clarification, and also identify opportunities for differentiation and extension. However, because we're doing this online, we don't have that opportunity. I will tell you, when you're self-assessing your own process, try to think about, how do the students like carousel activity, and how do they actually learn from it? What do they retain from it? What results do I see? When the students come in and they see posters around the classroom and they're familiar with carousel, are they going, yes, we get to do carousel today? Or are they going, ugh, I hate this activity? I've seen it both ways, and you're always going to have some students who give you an ugh, no matter how good an activity is. But it helps you assess your own process. If they love it and they're enjoying it, then they're gaining from it. So be aware of that. Here are some resources that I used when putting together this presentation. So if you want to take a deeper dive into activities like this to use in your classroom, these are some great places to look. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you can teach and feel confident facilitating Carousel with your own students. Thank you so much.